Some very disturbing news has just come out of Iran. It apparently they are we are finding evidence that they are upping their efforts to explode a small nuclear weapon delivered in a satellite over key electrical grids for the United States. Now, it would only take one launch. You can put them on a ship. I mean, they don't have intercontinental ballistic missile. You don't need one. If they could get one on a ship on the East Coast and West Coast, they could launch. And they launch one over the center of the country, one on each coast. And if you explode it at the right altitude, so it's not vaporizing everybody, it just fries every chip. That knocks us back to the Stone Age for a very long time. Good part of the population dies within the first 30 days. 90% of the population dies within the first year. And it looks like there's new evidence now that they are hardening their own electrical grid, and the military. We have now seen documents where the military is endorsing the high-altitude electromagnetic pulse strategy. That's not good. We're not ready for anything. We are just not ready for anything. Anything that happens, the homeland is so exposed right now. And I know it sounds crazy that anyone would do that, but they want to destroy us. And I'm not saying go in and destroy them. I'm saying, why wouldn't we harden our infrastructure? We know people are trying right now just to hack in to our infrastructure. Imagine frying it all.
Incredible news for you, Glenn.
Yeah.
We just passed like $1 trillion infrastructure plan.
Oh, okay. That's part of the infrastructure bill.
I'm sure all of this will be solved very soon, just like it was when we passed the last infrastructure bill.
Maybe if we start hiring members of the teachers union to harden the infrastructure, we could get the government to give them money to do that.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, this is really this is the problem. There's so many threats all at the same time. I think that's
the threats are becoming more and more real or closer. You know what I mean? We know that there is a threat to our economy. We know that there is a threat to our energy system. We know that there is a threat to our electrical grid. We know that World War III could happen, quickly, pretty damn quickly. We know that China is a threat. Just the supply line with China is a threat. Are we addressing any of these? We know that our open border is a threat. Imagine in the next 2 years, I happen to believe the experts that say there will be massive starvation, at least in Africa and many of these poor countries, because they just cannot buy the food that they're going to need. Massive starvation. Is anybody preparing for that? We should, as the United States, as people who are always the ones who step up. If I'm president of the United States, I'm saying, open up everything. Get energy online. You want to solve this? We don't have to threaten Putin. All we have to do is just make sure that we have gas deals with all of those states along the border. Poland, you need gas? We have it. Plenty of natural gas. You need oil? We've got it. I know. Cry me a river about the planet. I know. But you know what? We're also on the edge of new technology, and we continue to do new technology. And when it's ready, here's what we're going to do. We're going to run both systems. We're going to keep our nuclear power plants and our coal plants running. And we're going to keep them running, and we're going to monitor this other system. And we'll run it for a year side by side. And after that year shows that it's not cracking, we're going to turn down the other non-clean energy, and we'll turn it down maybe to 10%. And we'll keep it as a backup generator. What do you think? There are so many things that we can do, and we're not doing any of them. Not doing any of them. You know, do you know how the nuclear weapons, how that happened? Who's really kind of responsible for that, bringing it to the attention of the president? Because it's the president, this is FDR, he didn't think it was possible. He didn't think it was a big deal. And it was Eistein. He found out that 3 Nazi scientists had already discovered nuclear fission. And when he got it, he realized, holy cow, if they create a bomb with that, everybody's done. He had only been in America for about 6 years. He didn't know it at the time, but he'd never see Germany ever again. So the Nazis had taken Albert Einstein's home and made it into the headquarters for Hitler Youth. Did you know that? They took all of his books out of his library and burned them, and then put a bounty on Einstein's head. All his life, he was a pacifist. But now he was up against the Nazis, and he knew this is trouble. So he wrote a letter to President Roosevelt, and he said, you better hurry up and make a nuclear bomb. You're going to need uranium. Go with Canadian uranium. So Roosevelt, he needed Einstein to really shake him awake, and so he did. And he started the Manhattan Project. Funny thing is that Einstein wasn't given any security clearance because he was a leftist. So he suggested, but then they wouldn't let him in. Summer 1945, test, New Mexico. Robert Oppenheimer, father of the atomic bomb, looked up at the shadow of the first successful nuclear explosion and realized the world will never be the same. Then we bombed with little boy Hiroshima. The pilot of the Enola Gay, Paul Tibbets, said, we turned back to look at Hiroshima. The city was hidden by that awful cloud, boiling up, mushrooming, terrible, incredibly tall. No one spoke for a moment, then everybody was talking. I remember co-pilot Robert Lewis pounding on my shoulder saying, look at that, look at that. The bombardier wondered whether the radioactivity would make us all sterile. Lewis said he could taste atomic fission. He said it tasted like lead. They say you could see through people's bones, even with your eyes closed. People close enough were liquefied, vaporized, just an outline of a shadow. But the war had gone on too long and it needed to end, and America would end it. And the 2 nuclear bombs actually saved lives on both sides. When Einstein heard the news that we had dropped one, he said, woe is me. Three days later, we dropped one on Nagasaki. Now, the Einstein letter saved the world from Nazi domination, but he still felt responsible for the bomb. And he said, had I known the Germans would not succeed in developing an atomic bomb, I would have done nothing for the bomb. But he didn't know. Up until 1955, he was devoted to disarmament. And it was a decade after his death that a non-proliferation treaty set the rules for nuclear weapons, signed by 62 nations, including Britain, the United States, and the Soviet Union. And it's been 77 years since 2 bombs ended the terror of World War II. We kind of forgot about that threat until Vladimir Putin said, you know, where is that button? And crazy people like Kim Jong-un and the Ayatollahs, why is it everybody is so clear that Kim Jong-un cannot have this technology, both left and right, but the left doesn't have a problem at all with Iran. Maybe I'm a pessimist. You know, every time I think of Albert Einstein, I think about what he wrote. He wrote a book called Ideas and Opinions, and it was right before he died. And he said, you know, coming from Europe, I see the spirit of Americans, and it's infectious. He said the American lives more for his goals, for the future, much more than the European. Life for the American is always about becoming and never being. What are we becoming?